Okay, I'm going to talk about the Quickdraw version 5.6 shaft switching tools. So when I hit the shaft switching control is there, it gives me a choice whether profile or a thread by thread draft. In this case I'm going to walk through the profile, but what I'm actually going to start with is let me create a quick profile first. And the first aspect of that, when I started talking to the shaft switching folks, is they wanted to be able to control the ratio on the grid. Now what I found when I'm using summer and winter type patterns, they tend to be taller than they are wide. The shaft switching folks frequently go the other direction and use short thin blocks. So this, you'll now down here in the bottom left hand corner I can control the ratio. If you watch the scroller bar here is where the messages will appear. If I click it down, it's now down to 90. I can click going down, you'll see the red line move down, or I can directly click in there. Let me actually go to a project that, if I'm going to do a summer and winter, it would actually be at 125, but I can set that for wherever I want that to be. Now you'll notice those boxes are a little bit high. Now frequently the shaft switching folks will want very low aspect ratios. So let me set this down, that's at 90. So now I've got very thin blocks. So let me do an example there so it shows me what's going on. Now just to create a simple little project, I do a mouse click, right mouse click in the center where it sets those symmetry lines. And let me do something I'm not going to stay with here for a moment, but if you notice if I turn on the symmetry lines, those are actually going to be skewed based on where the aspect ratios now are. So I kind of don't want those, but in this case I'm going to create a simple little smiley face project. So let me just draw myself a reference circle. I'm going to do a freehand tool. And if I go a little bit more slowly, it's going to give me that edge. So that only takes 15 shafts to red. That would currently take 15 to 17 shafts and treadles. So let me turn off that one, and since this is a smiley face, I'm just going to throw in you'll notice when I hit on one side it's going to draw on both. That's what the symmetry will do. And so I've now got a little smiley face in here. Alright, now if I want to turn off the circle references, go back to a straight grid, and I'm going to draw a little grid box around it so I've got a little bit of margins around the edge of that. Okay, so if that's the project I want to go weave, the first thing I'm going to do is export that draft. And it's kind of now got it in there. And when I go back to shaft switching, if I ask for a profile draft now, it's got the profile draft. And when I go to loom help and I ask for weft help, it's actually going to show me there was that profile, and you'll notice there's some gaps in it from the way I drew it quickly. So as I cycle through that, you're going to see at the bottom the red boxes are where the shaft would be on the background shaft. The blue, that when they show up, will be on the pattern shaft. So it's going to show me the overall profile. The red line shows where I am on that. As I click through the bottom of the screen, you'll notice the boxes have gone from a bold red to a softer red, so you can physically see that there's a change. And there it's reached the first bottom of the smiley face circle. So now I'm seeing the bold for the change, so I can see that's which shafts I need to change. And the message up above tells me there's 8 changes. I have now pulled 8 chords and released none. So as I go on to the next one, it's actually a gap line. And one more, I can see that it's actually pulled the 2 blue there, so I see the +2. And I keep going up. It's going to show me where those changes. When I hit that line, the preceding line had them high. So I can see the bold red is a drop. The bold blue is a increase. And it's when I see up. And the quiet ones with the line, so I can physically see where the shafts were at each one of those points. To draw some correlation with the real world, I want to thank Susan Thorison for working with me on trying to formulate how these functions ought to work. This is actually a picture she had posted on Facebook of showing how the display would actually correlate down to the levers used in the profile draft. And she's obviously doing something much more complicated than I am. But I thank her again, and that walks through the simple project of creating and weaving a profile draft.